All right, welcome back to Morning Live. You're on SABC2 and SABC News Channel 404. The Qatar government said it regretted a coordinated decision by Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain to cut diplomatic relations. This comes after the Gulf states took measures to cut ties with Qatar over accusations of its support for extremism as well as terrorism. To talk to us more about this issue, we're joined by Ambassador Iqbal Jhazbhay, Professor of International Relations and Islamic Studies Specialist at the University of South Africa. Prof, it's a very good morning to you and thank you so much for coming through. This is the biggest diplomatic crisis that has ever hit the Gulf.
Yes, there have been a range of tensions between Qatar and its neighbors, but it has not reached this point where the neighboring Gulf states of Saudi Arabia, Emirates and Bahrain have decided to slap on Qatar road sanctions, air freight, as well as maritime ties. So the build-up is of a significant one compared to the one which happened more recently in 2014.
Yeah, but Prof, why the sudden decision to break off diplomatic ties with Qatar? I mean, we're reading now that Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain have recalled their diplomats from Qatar as well. And we've also seen that Qatar nationals have also been given 2 weeks to leave. What has caused all those ties to be cut off?
There seems to be some consensus amongst analysts that the recent visit of the US President Donald Trump to Saudi Arabia seems to have emboldened Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Egypt, the Emirates to make an attempt to convince or blockade Qatar to review its position, at least on a number of issues. One is the fact that Qatar has an independent position on engaging with Iran, a regional power. And then also Qatar has another position when it comes to dealing with Muslim groups like the Muslim Brotherhood. And this is a sore bone of contention between Egypt and Qatar, as well as Saudi Arabia. And also the fact that Qatar believes that you should come up with a different foreign policy model, including a robust free press. And the Jazeera TV has always been a point of contention between Qatar and its neighbors. But it's interesting in all of this, two other Gulf states, Kuwait to the north and Oman to the south, have similar positions on question of Iran or the Muslim Brotherhood, but they've managed to sidestep these tensions. There seems to be some deeper issues which have suddenly cropped up, but there's no doubt they've been emboldened recently by the visit of President Trump and the fact that he has taken a very hostile position towards Iran, and they feel now is the time to really blockade and make this type of arrangement of a full blockade on Qatar. So we'll wait and see how this unfolds in the coming days.
Yeah, but as I said on my introduction, Prof, that Qatar government said it actually regretted this coordinated decision. What would be its option going forward to deal with this measure, and how will the country's economy have an impact on tourism specifically?
Well, if these measures of a blockade continue, there's no doubt there will be an effort to contain the economy and the prices of retail goods, the question of the big construction projects towards the World Cup 22 will certainly have an impact. Already we can see on the Qatar Stock Exchange, the stocks have dropped by around 7%. But I think the options is, one is mediation. Turkey, paradoxically, the US has also shown interest to mediate. Or the other option is, like it happened in 2014, where after 8 months, relations were normalized. But we have to recall at that point, there wasn't any road blockade, nor a maritime blockade. So these are some of the options which could be considered. And there's no doubt, I think, given the fluctuating prices of oil, and that the fact that Qatar, although it's a small oil producer, but the largest producer of gas in the world, there would be an interest to mediate and resolve these tensions as soon as possible.
Yeah, and we've already seen the global markets responding negatively to these developments. Let's just bring it home here to South Africa, because South Africa's Sasol company has a huge billion-dollar Sasol plant there. Will the tension have any implications for us as South Africans, maybe?
There's no doubt as you mentioned, the billion-dollar Sasol project, because South Africa has this technology to convert gas to oil. So if there is a full blockade, that may impact on exports. But I can't foresee it becoming a full blockade, because it means then Qatar could also retaliate of the neighboring countries and their ships going through the territorial waters of Qatar. But where it could have an impact, where it constrains the economy, and already we know there's been a shedding of jobs once the price of oil has dropped per barrel. And it already means they'll put more tension on the economy and some of the further expansion of the economy. So those are possibilities which would unfold. And it'll be the question of how Qatar will contain some of these measures and come to an agreement with the other countries. And I think that there's also a likelihood Kuwait, which in the past has mediated, because Kuwait has a sizable body of members of parliament of the Muslim Brotherhood persuasion. This is a major point of contention of Saudi Arabia, that Qatar supports the Muslim Brotherhood. So they may step in, and so does the fact that it has a similar position on Iran.
All right, Prof, we'll leave it at that. This is a developing story. We'll surely be keeping a close eye on it, because there's also a panic amongst shoppers in Doha. Apparently, shelves are empty as it is now. People have started to stock food and water, fearing that they would actually run out of those necessities. But thank you so much for your time this morning.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. There you have it, Professor Iqbal Jhazbhay. He's the Professor of International Relations and Islamic Studies Specialist from the University of South Africa, talking to us about this development whereby the Qatar government said it regretted a coordinated decision by Saudi Arabia, Egypt and the United Arab Emirates to cut the diplomatic relations. As I said, it's a developing story. We'll surely be keeping a close eye on it. Let's quickly take a break here on Morning Live. When we come back, it's straight to Leanne at Paul Petersburg